Alright people, in today's video I'm going to show you how you can create these realistic looking dust particles in 5 minutes. So in order to do that, you need to open up a new Blender session, delete everything, and let's add a monkey. We're going to move it 1 meter on the Z-axis. Let's add a plane and scale it to here, and we're going to go to the edit mode, press 2 to select the edge. We're going to do EZ, and then we're going to select this, and we're going to do Control B to bevel it, and right click shade smooth. So I'm also going to reduce the world strength to 0.2 to make it darker, and let's add a light to now bring in that ray of light that you saw in the original render. So we're going to bring in a spotlight. Let's increase the spotlight to 2000, and let's make this 40 degrees, and we're going to increase the blend all the way up to 1. I will also add a constraint in my spotlight, which is the track 2 constraint, and then I'm going to select my Suzanne so that if I move my spotlight now, it will always rotate towards my Suzanne. I'm gonna bring it right about here, and I'll add a camera and I'll focus it on Suzanne. So we need to enable jittered shadows and ray tracing in Eevee, and again we also need to add the cube, and I'm gonna scale it to 10 just so that it covers everything in the scene. And let me see how big the cube is. Cube's 20 meters, that's not good. So let's make it 10 meters. Now that we have the cube, let's go to the shading tab, and we're going to add volumetrics in our scene. So we're going to click new and name this material volume. I'm going to delete the principal BSDF, and I'm going to add a principal volume texture, and let's take the output of volume and plug it into the volume. Now I'm going to change the color to white. Let's add a texture coordinate. Let's take the object output, and let's add it to a mapping node. You can skip this part, but it's always good to have a mapping node so that if you can adjust a lot of things later on. Then I'm going to add this to the vector of a noise texture, and I'm going to change it to 4D. Now the scale, I'm going to set it to 2 and keep rest of it the same. Now the next thing I'll do is take the factor and add a color ramp, and then we're going to take the black input, change it to 0.3. We're going to take the white one, change it to 0.7. And then we're going to take the output and add it to a math node, and a simple math node, not a vector math node. And I'm going to replace this to multiply, take the color, add it to this section, and change this value to 0.03. I'm going to take this value and add it to density. Now I'm going to also increase this to 0.35. Once we have done all the basic settings, I'm going to just take this W value and add a driver to it. So hashtag frame, and I'm going to divide it by 200. Now it's time to add the dust particles. So we have already selected the cube. Now we're going to go to the particle settings and then click plus to add a particle system. Now I'm going to go to source and change it to volume so that the particles are emitted in the volume and not from the faces. Let's also make sure that the velocity is set to 0. We're going to check the rotation, and we're going to add randomize of 0.1 and make sure that the dynamic is checked. Now I'm going to click on render, and I'm going to change this to collections instead of halo, and I'm going to reduce the size all the way up to 0.03. We can change it later on, and just change the scale randomness to 1. And we are also going to click on pick random. Just click on this field weight settings and make sure that the gravity is set to 0. Now we don't see anything in our scene, and that's because we have not added any particles. So I'm going to go back to the edit mode, and let's add an icosphere, and let's move it along the x-axis. I'm going to take this icosphere, and I'm going to add a decimate modifier, and I'm going to change the value of unsubdivide to 0.05. So I'm going to click Shift D to duplicate it and change this to 0.1. Shift D again and change this to 0.15. So once you're done with this, I'm going to select all 3 of them, hit M, click new, and then name it particles. Okay, so all of these are moved to the particle collection. Now I can go back to the cube. I can select my particle settings, and then I can select that collection. And if I go to the render mode now, first increase the size so that we can see them more. So I can see them clearly now. I have only added 1000 of them, so let's increase it to 5000 as well so that we have a lot more in our scene. And then if you see the particles are appearing one by one, I don't want that. I want all the particles to be there in my scene immediately. So I can just add the frame start and frame end to 1, and I will change the lifetime to 250, and then increase the lifetime randomness to 0.6. So to add some motion into this, we can do a shift A and add a force field and a turbulence force field. So I'm going to keep the strength to 2, low 1, and the noise would be 0.2. So if I play this now, can you see all these particles are moving randomly into the scene, and they are also moving very slowly. By the way, this is looking like a very cool asteroid scene. Let's just reduce the size of the particles. So we'll go back to the cube, we go to particle settings and then reduce it to 0.03. Now my particles are of the original size. I think it's still too big, so let's add 0.02, right? There are a bunch of particles here and they will keep disappearing one by one. I can also go back to my camera, and to add to the realism, what I can do is I can just add depth of field and make sure that I reduce this all the way down and then focus on my monkey. So let's go. I think this is where the focus is right on monkey's eyes. If you see, the particles are already looking very cool. You can reduce the size furthermore to make it smaller. I guess that's about it. This is how you make it. If you like the video, please drop a like, help me reach more people, and I'm gonna see you in the next one.